Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Energy Cultivation. Ask Sifu Amin Jani. We have here Scott Norman with me. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Reza.
And you know me, Coach Reza. And of course, Sifu Amin Jani is with us as well. Hey, Sifu. All right, you guys see him in the background. Um, so, Scott, what did you want to start with? I'll let you go ahead and kick it off.
Well, to start, I'd like Sifu to explain heart mind nature versus heart and mind and the differences in expression. Like, try and clarify Western and Eastern thinking overlap, like kind of a Taoist versus Christianity kind of viewpoint.
My
Okay.
nature, How my nature on from different
Yeah, like heart mind nature versus heart and mind. Like, from the Western perspective, there is heart and there is mind. And heart would typically deal with feelings and mind would typically deal with like logic and things of this nature, but heart mind is a little
Hmm.
bit different. It's kind of a they're two things that are interconnected. So a lot of people would hear that and not really understand the difference between heart mind nature and heart and mind. So I kind of would like you to clarify the Eastern perspective and the Western perspective and how they would interrelate.
okay. If you're going to go to an old school traditional point of view, they are connected because the mind rests in the heart, and that's when the magic happens, so to speak. But from our Western perspective, um, it's more ego driven. This concept, um, in a way, uh, when the person is focused on their minds in the Western perspective, knowledge and and studious things and environmental factors all play accountability, which is external perception. But when you go to the Eastern, that becomes more of an internal retrospective, so to speak.
Hmm.
If you see them as together from like an Eastern perspective, then what you feel and what you think is your own choice. But from more of a Western perspective, it's whatever we've been told is the right way to think and feel and apply that to our best edge, which is why it actually breeds more of an ego instead of a true person versus Eastern is saying find the true person and forget the ego.
So
I like that.
in clarifications, the Western kind of divides these things, whereas the Eastern sees it as one unit where the heart and mind work together to produce the desired results in terms of these things.
Correct.
Um, Now, the same thing, I kind of want to pick your brain about chi in a Western sense. The body's physical, vitality is pretty dependent on energetic and chemical constituents, which are referred to as chi. Now, how does this relate to heart mind nature? Heart mind nature as a part of a broader human system of ki or vitality or vital energy.
That's a great question, Scott, because Western medicine is more, or philosophies or beliefs or, Even if we're talking about religions, if they bleed into a certain way in these areas, maybe through their ritualistic practices, what they're reaching out for, they do see them as separate. With that separation, they believe that this thing has mind, for example, has its facilities, very valid. Emotions has its facilities. But if they were to break it down in their, let's say, scientific perspective, then they would say that it comes down to mind power and nerve force. So it's going to be your chi is there. Chi is not real, but what is real is like your left and right hemispheres coming together to make your mind optimal. And let's say like your nervous system, especially through like the vagus nerve system, regulating your body, which so mind power and nerve force, if you want to call it like in a cool dynamic way, but it's basically your brain and nerves which are connected. So there is no like chi that goes outside yourself. There, the concept of chi, even moving blood, where chi goes, the blood flows, that does not apply to the Western belief. It is the strength of the unison of the left and right hemisphere of the brain and the brainwave state that it can maintain, like an alpha, theta, deltas versus betas, and even going to the expounds of gammas, and then nerve strength, nerve force, nerve strength, which keeps us regulated on the well, a lot of people experience flight or fleet throughout their life. Uh, is it fight or fleet?
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight? Because the nervous system is weak and not regulated. So a strong, you know, nerves of steel, like an iron mind and nerve of steel kind of attitude. But the Eastern perspective is totally different because they do believe in chi and this invisible energy, and they do believe that the mind and heart are connected, and they do believe it's with the quality of thoughts and the quality of emotions over just mechanical biological responses and work that could be applied to improve.
So that that kind of distinction between the two systems of thinking is interesting because I think that you can overlap them to a certain degree and see a better, more full picture in terms of
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. So it's interesting to look at both of if there's more than one perspective in the world and they both have their values, it doesn't I don't see why they're so separated. They should be applied over each other and seen where things overlap and pursue the truth from a more dynamic sense.
Well, for the
But
Westerners who are listening and those who believe in improving themselves, this is a great topic because there is, from the Western perspective, a quite difference. It's like thinking positive should create some form of result by neuroplasticity and brain chemistry versus negative thinking. But they won't see it as energy, they'll see it as biological. So when it's biological like that, the two parts that are actually connected seem different because they operate on different mechanisms on their own. Western kind of just tells you they're all operating on the same mechanism. So it seems very profound and confusing at that point and mystical, but they're both actually correct. If applied, taking care of both your brain and your nervous system like you would in a Western system with science, is not too different than being Western and being spiritual about internal practices, so to speak.
You
External
mean
methods,
Eastern, right?
yeah, Eastern is more internal, Western is more external.
Yeah.
More biological versus spiritual.
Mm,
If you look at biology, we can see biology. That's what we believe. That's how we're going to operate and work with it to improve ourselves. The more tools we can create to help us with this, the more modalities there are for us to hone on these things, the stronger person we can become. But when you go to the Eastern side, it says you already have this, it's all inside. Now that you know that, go do the inner work, and then the magic will happen.
And so
very
this is
cool.
why you're, oh, sorry, Reza, go ahead.
No, no, you're good. Go ahead.
So this is why you're inclined to mix Western technologies into your training modalities and things of this nature, red lights and so on and so forth, the many gadgets and gizmos you've come across over the years. This is why you use those things, is to integrate what has come out of the Western world into what you've learned from the Eastern world, creating a hybrid modality, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Because those are tools from the Western perspective. They're great tools. But internal is also great tools. And a lot of Westerners would like to be dependent on the external stuff. And a lot of the Easterners could care less for it and just care about the internal. But as a sound mind and body type of person, you would want to make sure that internal is just as important as the gift of having the external availability. It, the external becomes a tool to apply to the internal you're already doing if you're doing the internal work, and then you can make even quicker leaps and bounds. Absolutely, for sure. It's a good combo to take modern day science and mix it with ancient wisdom.
Would you say that you should start with internal before jumping into external, or is it okay to, use these tools that help you get on the proper brain waves or, give you chi from the red lights? Would you say one is better to start with than the other?
I would say it depends on your situation as a person. If you're not physically capable or you don't have enough energy or time even to spend on the internal, the external's out there for you to at least get some healthy results and make improvements. But to get the leaps and bounds, that will require you to also go to yourself. So you could use external technology to get you into the right place to do better quality of internal work. But internal work quality depends on solely doing internal work. External technology can never replace doing what internal work can do. It can only add on things that are just necessary for life itself.
Okay. I'll be honest, because when I first started training with you, we did internal work, of course, first, and then later you started introducing external into the practice and training. But I didn't think the external was doing anything. I couldn't really feel it much. And when it came down to meditation, the more I practiced meditation, yoga, tai chi, qigong, and different exercises you gave me, the more I could see benefits of the external. So, for example, people who can't meditate or who just hate it because it's boring or whatever, they can't logically think of why they should do it. It makes no sense to them. You give them some brain waves to help them get it to alpha state or even, higher. Um, at first they may not notice what it's doing, but I noticed that after I practiced more internal work, I could actually tell from one session of brainwaves, listening to certain frequencies. Wow, it's like I just meditated for, 2 hours. So I could tell that the benefits were great, substantial.
That's absolutely normal. Um, if you cannot meditate and you use something like a brainwaves, it entrains your brain to be able to go into that alpha state, so to speak. So when you do go to meditate and your brain is entrained already in a certain way, then yes, external can make internal experiences, like I said, a lot more noticeable as well. And vice versa, having internal structure can make external things seem a lot more profound than might be noticed. Most people are in a certain state that they won't notice or feel things internal or externally, but they do help each other if a person uses them both to their advantage to actually feel more of all of what's going actually on at the
Hmm.
end game wise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They do help each other. It's like, it's just kind of like an ebb and flow. They can go together. Wash my back, I'll wash your back. I'll get you ready to meditate deeper. I'll listen to the brainwaves, and then when I go to meditate, my meditation is way easier and better. When I meditate more, now I know how to hold that internally. I don't even need the brainwaves later, but if I do, still great, for example.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It does work both ways. I think they compound on each other in terms of effectiveness. So yeah, mixing Western and Eastern is kind of what we've been doing, and it's shown to be very beneficial.
So on the heart mind nature note, um, would you call the heart mind nature from an Eastern perspective similar to what Westerns think of as like, the heart being the seat of the soul, which is to say that the part of us that's connected to the source of existence resides in this place. Um, would you say, from an Eastern perspective, the heart mind is the same as what Westerners think of as being like the seat of the soul?
No, it's not the same. For the Westerners, your soul and your spirit are in your organs and not your heart. It's literally like your liver for your soul. Um, when you go talk about Western perspective of soul and being the heart, there's no
Wait,
verification of
ho-
that either.
hold on. You meant the Eastern perspective.
I keep saying Eastern and Western. I think you mishear me.
I think you meant Eastern perspective. The soul is within the liver, not the
That's what I
Western.
said, I think. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm saying Eastern or Western, but
Yeah, it sounded like you said Western. So I just want to make it clear. Eastern believes that the soul sits in the liver, right?
correct.
Okay. Please continue.
The soul and the heart from the Western perspective is merely just more of a religious construct. There's no verification or validity in that validation, even from their own perspective scientifically.
Hmm.
Now, the soul is an ambiguous thing to speak of. No one can put their finger on it, not East or Western, because there's no scientific fact between the Eastern says it's in the liver either. I mean, that's it's just old tradition. So, soul concept is if there was such thing as a soul, then the idea of reincarnation wouldn't even exist because people do in this Eastern believe in reincarnation and it's tethered with the soul going on through, like you're being reborn again and started from scratch. But honestly, And Western, they don't even have a clue. They're just like, it must be if there is a God, and that's something we will just, wish or hope for it to be true if we feel it or not. It's like believing in God or God is dead. It's up to you. But what we can see is that it's never pinpoint when it comes to this subject matter. If there is actually a soul, then logically there would be the soul itself is eternal, right? So there's no real reincarnation.
Hmm.
So I
There's
kind
no old no, there's no such thing as being an old soul. Every soul is old. It's just when you appear or not appear, then. And again, this is now going to more of a spiritual philosophy concept.
yeah, yeah. I was kind of say we're kind of off the rail of the question, but I'm trying to get to the heart of like I'm trying to define something for people about heart, mind, nature. And this connection between the rational, logical mind and the heart from a Western perspective is similar to what the Easterners think of as heart, mind, nature. And Westerners tend to think of this heart, mind, nature, this union of human and spirit that they call soul, right? Um, is would you say that those things are similar? Like Westerners think of the heart being the seat of the spirit or the soul. Easterners think of the heart mind nature as being like the bridge between spirit and humanity, correct?
That's pretty eloquent of you to say. It'd be like for the Easterners, it's more about being natural and our natural, original human state.
Right.
And with that comes what we're made out of. We have a body, we have a mind, we have emotions, and it pretty much, spirit and soul, all this kind of thing is kind of extra, as a strong mind and a strong body makes a strong spirit. Um, Part of that, having good your chi is your emotional con content. Uh, but the Westerners don't see it so much like that. They they either go to extreme of a belief or they go to extreme of a science, and neither one actually agree with each other.
That's interesting. Yeah, I kind of that was kind of a personal question from me to you, but anyway, hopefully everybody else finds that interesting as well. So I kind of also wanted to talk about what heart mind nature looks like in day-to-day life. Um, there may be people listening that don't really still understand what heart mind nature is and what that looks like in your day-to-day life. So if you could give us some examples of things that we could pay attention to day to day.
Sure, sure. The quality of our emotions really determines our nervous system, if you want to look at it from an Eastern perspective. And our quality of our thoughts really affect on our brain. So our mind and our heart, which is like you could say our thinking and feeling, or our thoughts and emotions, this is like where self mastery comes into play with someone trying to get the heart mind nature, no matter what perspective they're researching or learning from. But if you really want to break it down to basics, it is like your emotions. Say your heart is your emotions, and that's your nervous system, and your thoughts are your brain, and that's your mind. Quality. So your mind, wherever it goes, the brain's gonna believe it. Your nervous system's gonna believe it. Your emotions will represent it. And if you know that the way that works, you can go backwards. You can make your emotions feel the way you want, so your body feels the way you want, and your mind will see differently and be in unison with it, and your brain works more efficiently biologically. This is actually a good
So,
way to resist disease, so to speak. The
so
other way
thinking affects how
causes
you feel. I
yeah, it
see.
causes disease. The other way causes disease. The not knowing way.
Mm. So not knowing that your thoughts affect your feelings and your feelings affect your nervous system. If you don't know this, then you can be creating diseases within your own self. Is that what you're saying? Pretty much.
And you can also heal yourself in the same kind of token
Right.
if you do it the other way around.
Very cool.
The one way a
But
person could
it's
practice.
hard for people because it's hard to catch
Yeah.
oneself. It's hard to observe oneself, what one's really doing, being their true self and true nature. So you have a choice always. Like, how do I feel right now? You can check it. It's kind of like lucid dreamers. Not to get off topic, but like if you want to become a good lucid dreamer, while you're awake, you'll pinch yourself to see if you're dreaming. You'll say, "Am I dreaming right now or not?" That creates like in your brain a way of perception that allows you to see things differently. That checking for something like that will make you lucid dreaming. In the same token, if you want to master your emotions and your mind, you must check them constantly, repeatedly, and you get better at doing it and it becomes more effortlessly together. But the difficult part is the checking. People might not even check for weeks or months on how they think or they're feeling. Really, you should check feeling before thinking because thinking is always going to make you feel a certain way, but feeling will also make you feel a certain way. So feeling good makes good thoughts, but thinking good thoughts don't always make good feelings. It's kind of funny this way.
What what if some people think feeling good is doing things, getting things done? So they're, tense and moving around, doing things with tension, physical tension. How's that affecting them when they're
Well,
not aware of it?
this is why Western actually doesn't really focus like the spiritual people as your original nature. They tell you to build an ego. The ego is going to believe any thought that it thinks it's true if you choose to think it's true and it's true for you and you only. Might not be the real reality.
Wow. Like I have to get this done. So forget how I'm feeling. Let me just push and get it done. So that that's like Western thinking in that example, right?
Yes, that's the ego talking, getting strong and having purpose. So you see in extremes. We live in like a world right now where not to be like talking anything negative about anyone's personal selves or movements or how they identify with where they're at in life, but we see today that let's say just for like we're okay, we're all guys here. So guy wise, guy talk here. Most guys today, even at a young age, as early as their 20s, mid 20s, the level of testosterone in a male is so low. The masculine energy in the male is so low that he's become quite feminine. It could be also through all this conspiracy stuff and corporate stuff with the food they're feeding us and everything, and not helping whatsoever, or the media that we're exposed to and the way they influence the masses. But each person is a person, and they can make their own choices. But if one sees that there is a difference in this level, so when guys like us, for example, us guys, if our testosterone is lower than it should be, then we're becoming more estrogen out and more feminine, for example. This seems normal, but it's technically not normal. So what's really hard for people is to find that normalcy within themselves. When there's this lack of this normalcy, the real growth can never truly happen for the individual for who how they were created as a human being. And these things in nature tries to balance it out, but we also live in a man-made world. So it's going to take it's not there's no quick fix or anything. There's just the real state of things. And the real state of things is a person has the power within their own self to make the choices to do the right actions, to be become who they really are because they already are that and not losing it, so to speak. If you had everything you had that you were given and you hadn't used it, then you're unstoppable. There's no leaps and bounds you can't, no feats you can't, nothing can stop you from doing what you do as a true man, person. And this will go same thing for women. They become masculinized and lost their femininity. So like something just as simple as that makes all these kind of conversations very complex. Not to just throw that at you guys, but an average person, you have to think about sitting in the seat over there where they're coming from in the world that we live in today. It is not necessarily in their favor by their nature. In a sense, if we go on with the way the world is, we are defining, we're denying and defining our own nature as not what it really is. But if we go against it, we can definitely explore and find our true nature without being even rebellious about it. It's just it is a choice, kind of like Scott's books he talks about.
Choices.
Yes, there is results from making choices.
So, if we were to give the people listening a way that they could, you know, get in touch with their own heart, mind, nature, and practice something that brings them in touch with that more often, what would you have for them on that?
Well, you know a lot of these techniques that I teach and talk about, and the most simplest one, like we were talking about the other night, is facial language and body language. And your facial language determines your emotional quality more than trying to feel an emotion, because that means you would use thinking to feel the emotion. And you don't know what you're thinking if you don't even know what your body language is like. If your posture isn't good, you're in a flight or fleet mode, period. So one can like fix one's face and feel better, and then their body will feel relief, and the thoughts will feel relief, and then they can be better and more free. But if one wants to try to think positive and try to feel positive, if they start with thinking first, it's serious, and so the heart, the emotions get serious, and no one's even they're being oblivious totally to what their body language is, let alone their facial language. So people don't even know those things pair up. That's not even a thing yet. It will be. You'll see it in the years to come that our face, they'll find out our face and our emotions are 100% connected, and our basically our body language as well, instead of just facial language, our body language for our mind, because that's our posture and our breath and all this stuff defines really whether we're in a flight or fleet response or not. If we can get out of the flight or fleet response with good posture, you would think emotions will come well. But no, people don't know that they even have the emotions. So it's best to start with the emotions first. It clears up their mind. And you'll be surprised how the body and mind follows with good emotion first. Good mind comes from good emotion. I mean, good emotion, a good mind comes from good emotion. So a good mind won't create good emotion, but a good emotion will create a good mind.
Mm. So most people that are unaware of this emotional thing, people that are trying to develop emotional intelligence but are still at a baby state, they could start with just smiling more often. Is that going to help
Well,
them?
yeah, yeah. Look, when you smile at someone else, what are they going to do? They're gonna usually smile back.
Yeah,
But
most
if
of the
you're
time.
looking at them like you don't even know what you're thinking, you're trying to figure out stuff. I mean, they're gonna be like, "Oh, just like you too." They see like that guy, like, "Oh, what am I doing? I got to be like this," and then use their ego. You know.
So yeah, so how you affect
This.
others.
Oh, sorry, Reza. This also goes
Yeah.
back to what both you guys were asking earlier. Is that the points I was making out to Western versus Eastern? Again, Western teaches us to build this ego. It's an extreme. So it's like we have an extreme weakness of men today, what I was saying before. So what is it? It's accepted and it's the norm and it bleeds into being the norm for everyone else, like a mob mentality. Then there's the few who go to the other extreme, and that's not healthy either. They become totally masculine egos, and that's not being a masculine energy either. So in this kind of people are going to look for a solution, but a solution is never another extreme. There isn't black and white. There's a whole rainbow in between, a gray area, so to speak. If you can hit the middle of the gray area in this life, you're probably going to be a very um, successful, normal person. Getting a good go to school, go to college, get your degree. By the time you're 25, you already have your career. You get married, start having kids, and everything like this.
So to circle back, one can
Yeah,
practice heart mind nature just simply by paying attention to their emotions through regulating their facial features and smiling and imagining, say, an old friend across the way. You see them for the
it's like
first
a
time in a
total.
long time. You smile, you're happy. That will reset your emotional state, which
That
will allow you
resets
to relax and gain posture.
that resets your, yes, your emotional state, your own biological state, and that also mirrors onto other people. It reflects on others. It's like you're also giving other people that energy as well, not just yourself.
So heart mind nature is contagious.
Heart mind nature is not ego. It's the opposite. It's like no
Right.
more
Mm.
ego, just giving like light, shining like a sun.
Wow, that's pretty profound actually, because if you think about it, then ego, if you're pursuing ego and doing things that drive it, then you're not necessarily practicing heart mind, but you might get ahead in life, in terms of having things or you know
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can get ahead in life with a strong ego.
hmm But that's going to cause a separation of this heart mind connection, and
Well,
in the end, people suffer more, don't they?
you see that the more money you get, more problems you have. The whatever more responsibility, their health can go out the window as well, no matter how much money they make. It's
Yeah.
where the relationships can be, let's say, not always friendly.
Mm. Yep.
And that we are very strong creatures, so we can push through. Even as fragile as we are, we're extremely strong. So we
Yeah.
can push through almost all against all odds with a strong willpower. But a strong willpower doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a big ego to get the job done. Uh, you can have an egoless and still have a strong willpower. And being egoless doesn't mean you're willless. You have no willpower.
Hmm.
You like blow with the wind. No, it's not true. Remember how
How
I
do you
used to
tell the
teach Tai?
difference?
Remember how I used to teach Tai Chi? I said there's a when I say relaxation, it's not going limp.
Uh, yeah.
It's the letting go from the inside,
Right.
right?
Where
It's like a
posture's still there, but
Song Gong is not just going limp and relax, like, oh, he's pushing me, so I'll just relax and melt like I'll trap him. No, he'll just push you over. What you have to do is still you have to be able to let him touch you and be relaxed by letting go from the inside out while still having good form and posture and solidity. Then yes, you can throw him back with like move 1,000 pounds with only 4 ounces of effort.
I feel like, when it comes to Western, like the things that we do in the Western lifestyle, you're right, it is ego driven. And, um, even from sports to trying to get good grades, a lot of times we're competing. So in terms of heart mind, like, can competing competition take place and you still develop heart mind nature?
That's actually a great place to discover yourself and practice and apply yourself in a different way. It's a good environment to cultivate if you're choosing to cultivate.
Mm, very good. So it's a good environment to improve yourself because you're constantly given challenges. Those that just sit at home, and don't have these kind of challenges, they're not necessarily learning or being able to grow as readily, probably then,
Well, that's obvious.
huh? So when people are challenged like with work or sports and things like that, it's better for them to take things with a grain of salt as opposed to get so serious and delve into the how things go. Because I think that the way it is, most people want to win, they want to get the better job, they want to make more money, and in most cases, you have to compete. But how can you go about this way and still keep a good, sound heart mind without losing it?
Yeah, the ego is a great way to accomplish those kind of tasks and push yourself forward. If you build a strong ego towards a certain goal, let's say that you want to achieve, you will be blessed with a certain kind of discipline. And that discipline, having that ego and that kind of discipline will get you results in this world of you can be the one that's pushing more than everyone else and getting more by doing it. It is a competitive business is competitive. Every businessman will tell you the same thing I just said. You know, that's all it takes is who's doing it more than the other person, who's got a better one than the other person. That's what gets them their results. If I have a really strong ego on this one goal, then I'll have a discipline to execute this goal while everyone else might be sitting around. I'm playing football while you're watching football. I'm going to become Michael Jordan, or I'm going to be a fan of Michael Jordan and have fun with my friends playing some ball, loving Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had to create an ego for himself to
Big
have a
one.
discipline to go become Michael Jordan.
Mm.
Now he has millions of dollars and can fly on private jets. No matter how much money you have and all that stuff, still being serious and taking the world the way it is. Even look at Will Smith, for example. You think he's funny, but nah, they still are just as human as you are. Everyone still has to wake up every morning, go to bed every night, take their shower, brush their teeth, use the restroom, eat food, drink water, use their eyes to see the world, use their hands to do their work, and communicate with people to make things happen. So, are they content even with all the money and the success, all the stuff? There's a part of them always going to be seeking God, always going to seeking themselves and finding that comfort. To find a simple answer like we're giving, oh, just fix your face and fix your body, your life would be great. Like, yeah, that's true, but like going against the odds, the other way sounds more realistic and favorable.
Yeah, yeah. They want to feel something. They want it tangible. They want to see results now. And if they're not working towards that now, then they feel like they're wasting time. So even something like this, someone with a strong ego, they'll be like, "What? Just smile more?" Like, okay, people tell me that all the time, but that's BS. Like, it's not going to change anything. But it will. Um, it's real funny the way you said that though, because literally, people want to see changes right away, and this whole concept you just brought up about the heart mind, it's a continuous thing. Like you can't just do it once and then expect the change to be there. And
You're right. It's a way of being. It's a path, or you want to call it, or a lifestyle. I don't even like to call it path, but it's like a lifestyle. It's a way of being, and and a lot of people are seeking that freedom of that way of being, and it's very hard to find because it's so simple and it's right there inside of you the whole time. He's never going
Yeah.
to be on the outside. It's never going to be someone else. Like, okay, if you let's say you just get as famous and rich as these guys we were just talking about, what would you do next? Like, if you really still try to fix yourself and find your peace, you're gonna go try to see a guru and spend all your money to be his best student, everything, and still the guru won't be able to give you what you're looking for.
So the best time to start is now to developing this heart mind. Because if you think about it, people think, oh yeah, I'll meditate when I have the money, when I have the lifestyle I'm looking for. I'll cultivate energy and learn about this stuff when I do this or that. But they'll go chase all of that, which is going to make it more difficult to work on these other things. And they're just going to, say screw it in the end.
Yeah.
Or for
What I
most
feel
most
like is one of
cases,
the
it's
most
too
important
late.
parts of what we're doing as energy cultivation, Reza and Scott, is that we're gonna uh, appeal to the people today who are trying to make that change so that they can obtain it themselves to help the younger generations and be the kind of parents that will start raising their kids with these kind of values to begin with. That will make a real change in the world, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely
We
right.
can
Because
set
the
them up for
future,
success before they have to get beaten up and fight for it and go out in their like a dog eat dog world. It does not doesn't have to be like this.
yeah.
Like or
No, there's nothing bad about, picking a way or doing certain things. But in the end, you see that even the people that are very well off, sure, they have all the money and power that they want, but still they're suffering just as much, or if not, sometimes more than the person who has less. And when you brought up Michael Jordan or Will Smith, yeah, they're great dudes, but of course, they do things that they regret, and they've hurt people in the past, and they wish they didn't, and they it's like they got what they want, but they're still unhappy today. Why? Because they didn't take that path early on when it's presented to them to learn how to cultivate or develop this heart mind. And so now they're stuck in this, kind of limbo area where, they want more. They still want more, but they don't know what it is that they want. And it's like, yo, it's right here for you. Boom. This
usually
is it.
in the family dynamics, it's the mother that usually encourages what we're talking about, and it's usually the
Yeah,
father that encourages the other way.
right.
And when we when we become a little bit older as an adult ourselves, then everything we got from our generational learning passed on to us. It's up to us to break those kind of generational bonds that no longer serve society
Yeah.
or the world itself.
Or the self-betterment, right? Or improvement.
Of yourself exactly. Yeah, it's like so that will make a difference when people start working on it. It will become a thing. You know how I always talk about fads. This one day, okay, spirituality is a fad right now, but it's not like true spirituality. But true spirituality will seem like a fad at one point too, and it'll be true, and it'll come and go like it's nothing. But the difference, the lasting impact will make a different collective consciousness. So more of a plasticity amongst many more whether they can do it or not emotionally and mentally be more accepting of other people's emotions and mentality, and it doesn't take everyone to do this. It takes only a handful of us to do this purposefully, to set the example and do it. So people who are like in our age group are parents. Some of them have kids as young as 2 months old to 5, 10, 15 years old, to some of them even like up to 20 years old, right? Now, if these parents heard what we were speaking, even if they didn't teach it to their children when they were younger, but they set by example now to the children now, even if they're at 20 years old, it makes a difference for that 20-year-old when they become 40 and have their own 20-year-olds and kids as well. So what we're doing now, we might not be alive to see it, but in 12 generations from now, there will be an impact that makes a difference. And I won't even know, who cares if it's us or energy cultivation or anything, whatever, but it's just the way that, I don't want to call it mob mentality, but the collective consciousness evolves. It's like if I were to if I were to play you something right now and let you listen to it once today, you would receive it a certain way. But if I played it again for you at another time later down the road, you would hear it totally different, even if it was the same thing.
It hits different. You're right. Perspective keeps changing.
So Reza, you said you had a couple of questions that you wanted to ask as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess just to end on that, the heart mind thing, because we're gonna go into something that's it's similar, but it's gonna talk more about the mind itself. Um, Real quick though, so for those people that, smiling isn't enough. You know what I'm saying? That's not doing enough for them. What else? What else could they do? Because think of it like this. If you're worrying, something happens, you get news, bad news, or you see something on the news that's bad, you're not gonna smile. You're gonna feel the way you feel based on the reality of life that's hitting you at that moment. So what I used to tell my students is, when you start worrying, pay attention to your body and how you're feeling. And you're going to notice that your breathing becomes shallow, your body language becomes poor, and your posture is totally jacked up. Um, and that's one way, but in midst of it, when you start worrying and you start realizing, oh man, I feel horrible, let me just smile and forget it. How can someone just forget it if it's such horrible news? You know what I'm saying? How can you just smile? What else can we do, Sifu? You
So,
know,
so that's a good question. And the thing is, that's because someone has an ego that they didn't even develop themselves. If they were just their true nature, there's no such thing as bad news. It simply is what it is. You simply are in the state that you are. Nothing
mm,
moves you. Only things move your ego. Nothing moves you. You are a mountain on the inside.
mm. And you are
But
not your ego.
on the outside, if that's what you focus on, then you're going to have all types of ways of thinking and feeling and responses and reactions to protect yourself, or do what you think is right to to be a good little ego, you know. So yeah, I feel so bad for you. You feel bad. I'm feeling so bad for you. My bad. We don't need empathy this way. That's not empathy. That's just formalities. And those formalities are, well, pretty much benign. They're not worth anything. They're, to some people, they make it's worth a lot, but only to their ego. If you want to serve other people's ego, then yes, you can do a great job of doing that by being, oh, I feel so bad for you. But if you want to serve people's true nature and spirit, you're still going to be fine and good, and help them however it takes, whatever, despite whatever they want to do with their ego. It's like you're not going to reject them. These people think, remove these people in your life or remove that influence in your life. This is also nonsense.
Mm,
If you're if you know you're that susceptible to influence, and you can't even create a strong enough ego to block those influences, then you're just f- feeling like you're just a weak, miserable person living in life. You don't need the ego. You also don't need the other thing. What you do need is just yourself, and you're good. You're solid. So if something is going on with someone and they're all negative and you want to do the ego route, that's fine. But What does that do for you? Not much. That's why people say go to these extremes. Those extremes are not necessary. Cut those people out. Cut this out. Don't need this. Avoidance doesn't make us stronger, better, more what ego should do using its power to accomplish things. One, so you're failing on that from the Western perspective, if you feel that way. Then you just go, you're just basically the ordinary sheep getting run through the mill, so to speak. Or you can go and have a stronger ego and say extremely like I don't care about anyone except myself, and then you're a jerk, but you'll maybe make a lot of money or get your fame or have your little life the way you want or do the things you want to do. Like it matters that I do this when nothing we really do actually really matters. But then you can go beyond that, yeah, and you can say, hey, the only thing that does matter is being good, and good is not. Kind of like when we were talking about love in the other podcast, unconditional love versus conditional love. Like ego
Hmm.
is kind of like conditional love, and then being your true nature is unconditional love. So when you're feeling unconditional love and someone else is coming and giving you bad news, if you have unconditional love, you have an abundance of positive energy to give that person and be there without it wrecking your life or stressing you out so much or stressing them out even keep them from stressing themselves from protect them from their own ego even so to speak, you know,
Yeah.
and
Clearly
you
they're
don't have to
feeling
go be the
alone.
leader and push them through and your way versus theirs. You can totally just stay to your way, allow them be their way, but it's just that much more richer that you're in their presence than not when you're that
Yeah.
way.
It's almost as if you're being a little selfish by when someone's bringing you bad news and you go into it. Because now instead of being present with them, you're going into your own feelings. Oh, I feel so bad. Now all of a sudden, what's happening? You're
One of the
going
biggest
making it about
competitions we've
you.
ever seen is funerals.
Oh God, yeah, those are so bad. I mean, not all of them. Some cultures they celebrate the person's life, and that's beautiful. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
You tell him, Reza.
Well, you go to a funeral nowadays, and it's like the competition is still there because that's the mentality and the way that people go about life. And it's like, oh, they feel bad, I should feel worse. Oh, let me feel worse. Let me show how bad I'm feeling by even putting on this, and this persona that, oh, it's devastating me, or everyone wants to act like it's hurting them more than the next person, and that becomes a horrible show instead of being there for the person who's passing on and letting the spirit rest. It's like as if they're strangling the spirit or something. I don't want to go that deep into it, but
Yeah,
it's like they're
fuck it.
not letting the
It's
person
just
rest in
true. It's
peace
just
because
true.
there's no peace.
Mm. You know, same thing with weddings. Everyone wants to get the bouquet to get married less or not be there, not catch it, and there and be the best man and that and show up. You haven't even talked to someone in decades and they just hit you up, I'm getting married. Oh, kids, let's go. I'll throw in this party. Doesn't matter if you show up or not. You show up there 2 seconds later, doesn't matter. People are,
Yeah,
this is my party. I'm the life of the party, and we're throwing it. This is my wedding. Everyone cheering me.
yeah,
You'll see so many guys, bachelors going from bachelorhood to being married, that they will all of a sudden become all of a sudden the alpha male in their pack for that moment.
that's true. Steve, it's hard to hear you a bit, but yeah, that's absolutely true.
And we have everyone going through the holidays like they're good little children. If they want to pick that life, that's fine, but that means that's not the life they pick for themselves. Whether they realize that or not, and they want to conform to that and do that, no one's stopping them from making a choice to do otherwise. They feel like if they don't do that, then they're messed up, but they feel messed up doing it. They have to come to terms with themselves about that whole entire lifestyle.
Oh, in their mind, they're doing the right thing. But are they truly aware of what their heart and body are saying? That's, you know what I'm saying? That's where it's kind of a
That gets neglected.
misconception. Yeah, one thing gets neglected.
That kind of brings something up for me. When it comes to ego and things like this and these interactions, something I notice is people will never, they never let go of things. Like they are always ego or they are always, one way or the other. It's like I always kind of like looked at this and kind of wondered what people were doing because for me, it's like things like ego or, emotions, anger, sadness, things of this nature, happiness, emotions as like a singular thing. These are all like tools in the toolbox to me. Meditation, all these things, judgment, discernment. These are all things that you can develop and use over time, and they can be set down and let go of at any time so that you can be focused on what you're doing and not have things in your hands that are keeping you from doing what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
So separating yourself from these things a bit seems strange to Westerners, but honestly, it's one of the best things they could possibly do is to kind of like itemize things and look at them as being separate from what and who you are.
And you know
And
what? Westerners, when they
Great.
start doing that, they'll think they're doing an Eastern version, but the Eastern version is not even like that either on a level of, let's say, being balanced. It's not even about being balanced. Like, Westerners are going to extremes always, one extreme to the other, never ending, choosing extremes.
Yeah.
And people will assume that the Eastern way would be find the balance between all that and you will do good. Let's bring it all together. But no, even the Eastern itself doesn't believe that there's that balance. It believes it already is all there. There's nothing to balance, but be fully present, not just balance present, not going extremes of egos. Because then you just have now you're just a gentleman or overcautious gentleman, I should say. So that's why you also see good people who are laying in the middle, trying to be balanced between everyone's crazy extremes. Still is a difficult place to be in, even if you're not being extreme yourself. But when you're
Well, it's
totality of yourself, then there is no
mhm.
such thing as an extreme, and extremes are actually nothing.
That brings up another question
You
because
don't
I
have
was
to go
gonna.
to one extreme or the other, or go to the middle and be balanced and teeter it like a judge, left and right, and have all this kind of discernment. Is like, you are what you are. It is what it is. We are made the way we are. It works how it works. Know that, do that, be that. You are it. Voila.
So how are you gonna get that balance? Just realize it, but
No, you don't. You're
it's
not going
not
to
that
get
easy.
balance. You're going to get totality.
Totality, that's the key, not the balance between ego and non-ego.
the
Totality.
toolbox perspective is good for that because it kind of gives you a way to reference things. So, like, he's speaking about totality, having access to all of yourself, being whole, authentic. The problem is people fixate on the screwdriver, the ego, let's say, right? And they use it for everything. You need to hammer a nail, get the screwdriver out. You need to do this, get the screwdriver out. But there's better tools, and you have a totality of a toolbox that contains all of these things. And at any time, you can pick up or set down any one of those things because they're a part of yourself. Carry that thing with you everywhere. So you need to let go of the things in order to be able to use the whole toolbox. Otherwise, your hands are occupied. If you always got a screwdriver in one hand, my ego and my desires in the other, a wrench, I can do nothing but have ego and desire because I don't set these down and rummage through my toolbox very often.
That's good,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And that's exactly what you said there too. Authenticity. This is the path to us, or the way of being authentic. That's the what you just said is beautiful, Scott, because
That's just really defines of what it's like to be authentic. There's no bouncing this way, that way. It's still going to be locked. But being authentic is going to, it doesn't matter if it's even Christmas or if I'm a plumber and other people will think bad of me for being a plumber or something. Like, you get what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
But to be authentic, this is all our job is to do is our authentic self. And that has all the tools in the tools box.
Yeah. But that requires knowing the tools that you have and how they're being utilized. Because most people, they have this ego that they don't even know exists.
Because they've been I hate to use the word, but like not brainwashed, but programs or whatever, or neither. I don't like those words, but
Well,
influence.
that's true. Influence to identify with it as that's who they are.
It's just what we were raised and taught with as a norm. So we don't know any other way, even though we know the real way. Everyone inside themselves knows exactly like what they're talented at, what they're good at, what they like, what they love, what they're passionate about, and all those are talents and gifts that they're here to love and experience and do all day, every day, and make the world a better place for doing it and giving it and blessing the world with that. It's really just being your authentic self at the end of the day.
You
It's
know,
the
it's
hardest
funny.
thing for everyone to do.
It is. It's so difficult because there's so many distractions and there's so many desires and wants. So they don't realize, like Scott said, they're holding on to something that's not even part of like where they what they want to do, like to get the job done. But they're so used to it. You know, when I first met Sifu, he taught me to get back to my original self. You know, I created an ego that loved to not be my original self because, you know, it was, I thought the way I was the way it was supposed to be. So instead of doing the things that I truly loved and, you know, made me who I was, I started competing with people around me and trying to be better than others and things, and, you know, started pursuing things that were pushing me away from my true self. And I didn't know that I was doing this. I actually forgot about, you know, who old Reza was or what Reza loved to do, and was constantly doing things that was killing me. And, you know, that I think that's what led to disease. It wasn't the poor choices or this and that. It was just constantly identifying with ego and not knowing, you know, my true authentic self. And well, I think that's the problem with most people that get sick or ill at an early age, or, you know, can't get back to, you know, good health. It's because they're not letting go. They're not dropping the thing that got them to where they are, you know. So that's where that heart mind nature comes in.
Yeah, that's very beautiful share.
It's true. It's without understanding of heart mind nature, you know, I wasn't aware of what I was doing when I was cursing in my mind, at people or at things. I wasn't aware that, you know, um, the way I'm sitting is affecting the way my organs are compressing themselves, and now it's difficult to feel good and be happy. You know, little things. It's that's why heart mind nature requires discipline and awareness. Like we talk about awareness all the time because that's the number one, you know, skill to develop in life. It's more important than lifting, you know, muscle. Building muscle. It's more important to build that mental muscle of awareness. But if you're not aware, then you're gonna keep going down that route that's hurting you. Um, and I think heart, mind, nature that you're speaking of, that we discussed already, it's pretty clear now for people what it is, and I think we're just gonna have to keep diving into it in different podcasts, just, you know, describing more of it, because at this point, catching oneself is the hardest thing, you know. So we'll get into that, I think, more. Scott, did you want to share, Sifu or Scott, did you want to share anything else about heart mind?
No, Reza, go ahead with what you were gonna ask.
All right.
Well, Reza makes
Yeah,
a
go
good
ahead.
point about his personal experience. Not if you don't want to tell him, that's fine. But if you do, that
I'm
we
sorry,
were
I had to
describing.
get up and walk away for a minute.
Oh, that's all
I
good.
just
You're all
came
good.
back.
But what Reza was kind of referring to is when I did meet him, I used to remind him about when he was a kid. That little chess master, Rez for Prez, winning, being a president, like being the number one candy seller, like the guy who did the 24 challenge and chess mastering, all this kind of stuff. That kid versus like the young person that I met, like that's normal in our suburban area, who teenage rebellion, wanting to party hard and doing all that, and totally forgot that little nerdy kid that he was before and became the cool kid. And then it was kind of like mean, but I was like, that cool kid ain't serving you, but that kid inside of you that you were before, that's who you are. That's the best part of you. You still have that. They're still there. Let's go find that again. You know. And
Yeah.
well, how is that from your perspective? Like, since that's
I
that's kind of
experienced the same thing actually, personally. Like,
Nice.
I've had to go back to remembering what it was like before I had so much humanity in me when
That's
I was a
awesome.
kid. So I experienced pretty much the same, where I kind of became a person and developed an ego and then had to shed it and kind of remember like, oh yeah, I was like interested in so many of these simple things. I like nature and dirt and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I like the smell after the rain, and like there's a lot of joyful things to experience and pay attention to in the world that you forget about, and perspectives that you had originally that you forget about, things you knew that you forget about. So going back to that time when you're real new in the world and just kind of like retrospectively thinking about what it was that made you happy and you loved and enjoyed and thought, how you felt, how you interacted with people in the world. It was different, much different. Because we get
Yeah.
discouraged and we change, and going back to that's super cool and fun. So I suggest everybody try it. That it, drop the tools, take yourself back in a time machine in your mind, and kind of just explore that, become that again.
That's great. That's awesome thing to do, Scott.
yeah, Reza. Yeah, go ahead. Feedback.
It's
Like, you were so general before. If you don't mind giving us, you don't have to, but
no, no, no. I'm happy to dive into it. I was so opinionated back then. Um, as a kid, everything's new, everything's fresh, and it was like curiosity existed, and that's all there was to everything. So I enjoyed everything. But then when I, started wanting to be loved by all the popular people and be popular myself, and thinking that that's what it takes to get the things in life that are actually meaningful. Um, I started developing that ego, and that's when I think the biggest thing was I started becoming very opinionated, and judgmental, and that curiosity didn't exist anymore. It's like I knew. You try to tell me something, shut up. I know better than you. And I think at adolescence, everyone goes through that. But at what age do you drop it? And I didn't drop it. I held on to it, just like a lot of our friends still to this day, they still hold on to. And that's 25 years later, it's still there. And, I have glimpses of it still because, back then I lived off of that kind of thing. It's like I thought that my way was the best. I thought that what I knew was encompassing everything and so great. And I would every night, every day was the job for me was to get as messed up as I could. So every day was just get as caked as you can, or get as drunk as you can, or and that's how you can be popular, and people, where the parties are, and everyone's going to want to go with you, and oh, we're meeting up in my house, and I'm going to make sure I had everything people want. Like that was so important. I had to have the right shoes, had all the Jordans I could, all the Jordan jerseys, everything. I wanted to have the best everything. And eventually I realized for what? It was worthless. When I got sick eventually, it didn't matter what I had. Nobody cared anymore because I couldn't provide the things that they wanted. And so, they'd go to bars and other people's houses and things like that, or, find other people that'll provide them with what I used to. And so then, you learn the hard way that, wow, all these efforts were for nothing. And now I'm left broken and sick. I mean, I had Crohn's disease. I had chronic illnesses that were incurable other than Crohn's. Um, Doctors said, there was no way I could fix any of them. I'd have them the rest of my life. I wasn't allowed to run, lift, play basketball. The doctor said I'd never be able to do any of that again. And all the pursuing of desires, wanting to be this and that and have this and that, whether it be girls or money or whatever it was, it led me to this position where now all of a sudden broken physically, mentally, unaware of my body and physicality and emotions, just blowing with the wind. If somebody would give me bad news, I'd feel bad. If somebody cursed at me, I'd curse back at them. It was like I became very American. And in everyone's eyes, that was great. Reza's awesome, but now he's sick. Oh, that's too bad. And then no one actually cared to make a difference or to help other than, my mom. She was willing to pay money for doctors, but doctors didn't know what to do. My dad always tried to provide whatever he could. He was, always would help. Sister, emotional support. But other than that, that was it. All my closest friends that I gave so much time and money and things to didn't matter. And they move on. I had 100 friends and then it came down to zero. And, the only one that actually cared to help was Sifu. He saw the original me, even though there's this personification of who I am, which wasn't real, that everyone could see. He saw beyond that veil, and was like, you know what? This guy deserves better than what he's been given and the way he's been treated. So, when I asked him to teach me, he felt compelled, like he had to. I guess because he could see through all the stuff the front that I would put on. I was this masculine, strong jack dude that could ball and out drink and out smoke anybody. He was like, nah, that's not him. I see something else. Let me try to bring out the real, Reza, and see if he doesn't get better. And little by little, he started teaching me things that I always wanted to learn, from kung fu to drawing to making music to, building a business. I wanted to do all these things, but I never did it. Making video games, I'm telling you, like writing books, I wanted to do all this stuff, but I never did it, thinking it was impossible. And then he showed me in just a blink of an eye, you can do any of this anytime you want. You just have to start right now. And the more I pursued the things that I've always wanted to do but never did, the more I healed. I mean, I never thought I could just do kung fu in my home. I thought it had to be in a dojo, and he would teach me, live at his house in person. And I never thought I could draw. And then he was like, "Go to college. Here, you have to take this course." And I go and I learn. Wow, I start to see life differently. I can actually draw as well. Whoa, that's crazy. Acting. I wanted to be an actor, and he was like, "Go take it in college." I'm like, "Dang, for real? Okay." And I take acting, and all of a sudden, I learned more about my body and how it's connected to my thoughts and emotions, how they're completely, one actually. And little by little, I'm getting healthier and healthier. And, those are just little things, but, it came down to all the things that I described. And the more I do these things that I've always wanted to do, it's like the stronger my awareness grows, the healthier I'm becoming, the more of my original self I start to realize is there, and I can actually cultivate that. And when you start to cultivate your original self, your original nature, that's when all diseases go. All illnesses start to fix themselves. And at this age now where I'm at, 20 some years later, I'm healthier than I was back then. And when I was 20, I'm stronger. I'm more connected to my mind and body, more aware. And it's like, and I'm doing more of the things that I've always loved, and those things are growing. And so, it's not, I'm not just trying to give praise to Sifu, but trying to share this experience so that, you guys can realize this on your own. You don't need a Sifu to tell you this. If you're listening right now, if you're watching this, do the things that you love, pursue the things that you've always wanted to do, you know, not the things that are destructive. Yeah, I wanted to be the best drinker in the world, so I'd go crush as much as I could. Yeah, I wanted to be the highest person in the room, so I'd go do what it takes to be that. But those are destructive. You got to look at it. And, oh, yeah, one day I broke my jaw even. I wanted to eat all the yummy tasting foods that I could for the rest of my life. And I did that. But where did that lead me? Not fat and obese, but sick and dying in my guts. So, when you do go pursue the things that you love, make sure that they have a positive outlook for you and for those around you. Don't just pursue things selfishly out of a desire, but more so know who you are and see what it is that you've always wanted to do. Because me wanting to eat fast food every day was not helping me. Even though I pursued that for a while, that wasn't helping. So in terms of what to pursue, it's different for everybody. But pick the things that are going to build you, build your health, mind, body, and spirit.
Well said, man.
That's very beautiful. Thanks for sharing. This is gold.
Thanks.
I think everyone
Well,
can
thank
relate
you.
to. I think everyone can relate to what you just said.
So
You know, I strongly believe that I don't want to say believe because that's not a word that I really subscribe to, but I know in my hearts of hearts that when we are kids, we all know what we want to be when we grow up. But by the time we get to college, we don't even know what we're going to go take for college anymore because that's what the world does to us, our family, our friends, our loved ones, our environment, and the way the world works and operates. Think about that.
that's so true. That is so true. The way the world influences us, it almost steers us away from where we were once going.
And unfortunately, most of our parents have been steered that way, so they don't even know they're steering us that way as well and not supporting the way we came into this world with. They lost their life. They in their old retirement ages, if they still have the energy to do it, want to go back to that childhood and live their childhood when they're older. Some people, when they get older and retire, they just get older and retire and then feel like they've done their time. Then other people say, "No, I got my retirement. I finally want to be a kid again."
Yeah, and that's good. Better for them, to look back at the things that they weren't able to do because had their goals focused. Like a good mother,
And I'm
she
just
can't.
saying, you're always that kid. Don't
Yeah,
forget it.
yeah. It's
I
good
know,
to remember.
I know yourself better than you know yourself. I love you better than you love yourself because I see the child in you.
Yeah. I was saying like
And when you feel that way towards everyone you know, this is a lovely, beautiful thing because now we are all, even though we're different, we are all the same. We're I'm you, you're me, but just a little different, but really I'm you, you're me. We're the same. We're the same. We're the same. We're the same. It just looks a little different. It just smells a little different. It just sounds a little different, but it's still all the same. I'm me, you are me, I'm you.
We're the beam of light going through the kaleidoscope, coming out in a million different ways at the other end.
yeah. Well, you know what they say, the way that we judge is really a reflection of our own self. So when we feel so opinionated about somebody or something that someone's saying or doing, we need to take that finger and point it right back this way and stop
Yeah,
ourselves.
cartoon masses. You know, to me, you guys are no different than one of my limbs.
Yep,
I
I
don't
see that.
ignore my limbs. Why do I would I ignore you?
Right. Well, maybe you're feeling a certain type of way, so you may unconsciously ignore what's going on in life, and that's how most people go through life.
Most people are with their, let's say, conditioned conditioning, their conditioned mind. They're not focused on themselves, and they're not focused on others, and they're not quite sure what they really focus on at all at any
Yeah,
given time. And the best they can do, they feel like, is try to keep up with all the bombardment that's being thrown at them. And that's very honorable and courageous alone. That feat alone it should be rewarded for it, not looked downly upon, but it's something worthy of being rewarded as well. It's just unfortunate the circumstances that whether they're put in it or they put themselves in it might make it seem unrewarding, but even as simple as it can be, it's very noble what every human being tries to do in their own way in life.
absolutely. I was gonna say that, when they have responsibilities to be a good mother. And so, yeah, maybe they got to use ego to get through it because that was the choice they made to be the best mother they can be. And yep, they deserve reward if that's what they're doing because look at who they're influencing and look at how it's helping somebody to grow. So that's very commendable. But then when they reach a certain age, even though after all that, and they have all these beautiful rewards of seeing a young child become so independent and healthy and good, the mother may feel like there's something they're missing, even after all that. And I think a lot of mothers end up that way, or fathers too, but more so mothers, because they literally will stop everything they're doing just to make sure that everything's provided for their kids. And a lot of fathers do that too, but more so, like I said, in mothers. And when they reach a certain age to retirement, oftentimes they realize that they've been neglecting themselves. And so, at that point, it's like, wow, now I get to be a kid again. Now I get to go do the things that I always wanted to do. And it's not that they wasted time, it's just that they had a focus and they got the job done. So there's nothing to look bad on or down on. It's that now I get to do this, instead of saying I have to do this, it's best to say now I get to do this. And it wasn't that anything was bad in the past. It's best to see everything as what you chose, and it was necessary because that's where you were at the time and that was important. But now this is what's important. Like for someone who's never practiced this heart mind nature thing, or they did it when they were a kid, when they had religion, or parents were constantly saying, say please, say thank you, be a good person, listen to your teachers. Once they go through years of not having to do all that stuff, it's important to realize, okay, I guess I did that for this many years so that I could see why it's important instead of looking back and saying, dang, I didn't do it and, feeling bad. No, you're already failing again. It's like you had to do that. Now you're done with that. So let's keep moving forward. I'm just trying to help so you guys don't get discouraged, for people that want to start cultivating themselves or develop this heart mind thing that it's, not tangible or they've never even understood. You can jump into it anytime, and the best time is right now. And every day make that a goal to be more aware of it. What are my emotions? What are my thinking? How are one or any other affecting each other? Like, how is my breathing? How's my body?
Yeah,
My body
Reza, this is a
language.
big thing that I teach is very different than everyone else's. Not
Mhm.
not like beliefs, but actual physical results. Like the techniques that I teach people, There's a real physical result. I'm not asking anyone to believe in the concept and believing that concept will bring the energy or make them better or feel better. It's not like this. It's only the things that if you do this, there's this physical activity. This physical activity will bring upon this guaranteed physical result. And above that and beyond that, yeah, you won't ever hear me talking about, well, you need to like believe this and believe that, and this is the way to go. But I can show you for yourselves that probably most likely even your beliefs are the ones that are the fuel for your ego. And that's why I don't even believe myself. So, uh,
Sorry, that's very true.
well, yeah, you know me very well. So, definitely the physical stuff. So, like this technique earlier about heart mind nature we're talking about, this is physiological. You make a smile for 30 seconds, your brain will change. Even if you don't know how to check yourself and control the levels of, I don't know what the feeling is, what I'm checking for. That's when checking is a hard thing to remember to check. What's even harder is know
Yeah.
what you're checking for and how intimate you are with that relationship of that energy of your own heart and your own mind. Like how much clarity you have with them or depth you have, how much they respond, like the gap between the conscious and subconscious mind. How good is that bridge? You know? So results can seem small in the beginning or almost impossible to even conceive or find or perceive because it's just so tiny. But behold, through repetition, it builds up as a substance, just like a muscle will build up itself, that energy will build up, or that mind, the brain, the 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 neurons in your mind will make bridges and connect and get stronger and fire more often to the point where when you say this thing instead of 50 times, like a mantra, people practice saying mantras hundreds of times. Why? Because when they do it so good for so many times and it builds that wiring in the system of the mind and the brain, the body, all this kind of stuff, and the nervous system and everything, then saying it one time has so much power behind it more than saying it a thousand times because you practice so many thousand times over time that it just each time it gets a little stronger. One time,
That's
a
true.
hundred times eventually becomes like 10 times strength. 10 times eventually becomes like 100 times strength, like this. To 1,000 times
Hmm.
strength. One time eventually can be like 1,000 times strength. You
You
know?
don't have to do it as often, and you'll get even greater results the more
Yeah,
you put into it.
yeah. It really works like this. And you could say affirmations are a good way that way, but like what most people don't know, they used to use the old mantras? It was just one thing they picked that was simple. Because like if you had like 50 different affirmations, for example, it's confusing. You can still build it up, but it'll take a 30 years lifetime. But something that you can accomplish in 5 years, stick to one.
No, you're right. It works because I remember now, like I said, I can feel a stronger connection. Like if I think something, I can tell how that affects my breath. I can tell how that affects my ability to move. Like, I'll feel more physically stiff when based on the nature of my thoughts. If I'm not aware of my emotions at all. But
That's a
when I do
very
pay,
high level, basically, of checking.
yeah, no, at first I didn't notice anything, and everyone that starts may not, but you got to just do it and keep doing it. Because when you check it first, for me, if I'm not aware of how my emotions are and I'm feeling a certain type of way that isn't positive, then instantly my breathing becomes shallow. I may not be aware of it, but when I do the check, I'm like, dang, I could breathe better than
Okay,
this.
Reza, I don't want to interrupt you, but for our listeners, so
Yeah.
Reza and I have been working hands-on for over 15 years together. And he can testify that I've worked on him in physical person on these kind of intricacies. And and that's why, other than just us talking about this on the podcast, I really want you guys to like go join the community in the school and talk to us and be able to do one-on-one and Lord Live sessions directly for, you know, personal stuff. I do
Hmm.
that. It's available. I'm just putting it out there because it's different than just watching a podcast or going and looking up some pre-recorded lesson when you can
Yeah.
actually talk about yourself with us in person. So, um,
We're making
just keep,
progress. You're right.
yeah, yeah, keep that in mind because, like, Reza, look, it's a lot of work, right? I always point out to these things here. Your breathing, your
Yeah.
posture, your feelings.
Oh
What are
gosh,
your thinking? What do you do?
all that.
I
Yeah.
know, yeah, Reza's a champion because, like, most people would just want to pull their hair out and run away and commit suicide dealing with me for fucking 30 days.
He's not joking. When you're coming from such a low point and you want to make extreme progress, then it requires either you being so hard on yourself and constantly checking and catching and working hard, or someone else doing it for you. And believe me, you do not want someone to do that for you when you come from such a low, standard of where I started from. But when you do, start on your own, he's right. You can't just conceptualize. That's only like 50%, is what they say. To me, that's 30%. 70% is in putting in the physical effort to practicing and showing up and talking about what's difficult or learning how to do things properly. Because when you start to do the exercises, I created a classroom in school with exercises for you guys to practice. Because the more you practice those exercises, spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour a day on practicing some of those, the more it compounds exponentially, and you'll become more aware of the things that I'm trying to tell you guys that I am aware of now, in terms of how my thoughts affect my breathing, my blood circulation, my emotions, and how, if I check my emotions, how my emotions are affecting my posture, my body language, my digestion, my thoughts. If I didn't do those exercises, if Sifu didn't make me do those exercises that I put on the school on a daily basis, I would not be able to tell you these things that I can do now. It's not like I can go show off and say, hey, this is what I can do. But I'm just saying that it is allowing, because of those specific exercises that we put up there, and I still have two more courses to put up, but those ones that are there are going to help you tremendously to get to a higher state of awareness, to reach higher levels of your heart mind nature itself. It's not just a mental emotional thing, it is a physical thing too. That's why we got mind, body, and spirit connection, because you got to put in physical work to develop this abundance of energy that you want to see and be able to come into touch with. Because again, nothing's ours. Just want to be a better conduit of energy, right? And physically, you practice those stretches and posture work. Now, all of a sudden, you'll have more energy pouring through you. You'll be able to feel it more. You'll be able to pay more attention to what your emotions are doing to your nervous system, how it's affecting your organs, how it's affecting your thoughts, and then vice versa. Because thoughts are going to affect your emotions and your organs and your nervous system. Overthinking, worrying, all these kind of things, anger, sadness, all these things affect the way your blood circulates and to where the energy flows. So, overactive organs are going to happen from different overactive emotions, or different thought waves and ways of thinking are going to affect different organs, and the way that your body's going to feel. So it's, people try to fix it with food when they want to develop good health, but that's not enough. It's only a part of it. It's a big part. Yeah, sure, you can reverse a lot of things, but that wasn't enough for me when I was sick. And again, not saying that anyone's sick, but if you want to just reach that higher level of understanding, of self mastery, awareness, it is important to practice exercise. And unfortunately, running on a treadmill is not the same as running through our posture exercises, which may seem boring, but they're very beneficial. 10 minutes is all it takes. The stretches, we're the way that Sifu organizes stretches, it's going to open up all the energy channels from top to bottom. We're not missing any part. You can do more stretches on top of that, which is going to be great. But this is a good foundation, good place to start for anyone that doesn't stretch, or for someone who already does stretch but realizes that they can have a better routine or include more into their routine. Add it. I mean, straight up, it's if that's all you do, you're gonna feel way different if you do it every day. To be honest, the stretches will probably take you about 45 minutes to do them really well. You can run through them in 30 minutes. I do them in my live classes at George Mason University, and no one complains because they feel great when they're done. And then we'll do the martial arts afterwards. But even if you just want to feel good throughout the day, you don't have to practice sports or martial arts to want to do these stretches. You just want to have energy and feel good. Do it. There's other classes in there from breathing, simple breathing exercises, which will help you become more aware of how your thoughts and emotions affect your breathing. And they're very simple exercises, but they're very profound. Um, the Qigong and Tai Chi just helps develop all that awareness for movement and stillness, because oftentimes we're not aware of, when we're sitting still, we're not aware of the tension that's developing, or the twitching leg or finger or hand, and how that's being affected by our thoughts or emotions. So when you practice Qigong and Tai Chi, especially these specific exercises that we put up on school, this is going to help you learn about how energy moves, and how not just outside the body, but internally, how this energy is moving, and how external affects internal, and vice versa. So, when you practice the stillness and the movement, that's when you start to understand more about interacting with your environment, people, things in the environment, and where you are. So,
Yeah.
you'll
When
you'll learn.
when the when the inside is still, the outside is moving, and when the outside is still, the inside is moving. This is what we teach with the Tai Chi and meditation.
Yep. It's very, very,
Yeah,
very
when you're
helpful.
meditating, you're still on the outside, but the inside is moving. And then when you're doing Tai Chi, your outside is moving, but your inside should be very steer.
Yeah. Then you can be aware of these two things, the stillness and the motion that's occurring within each other. Excuse me. But
And
yeah, so
our stretches, you're right. You know, the ones we designed for the actual stretching that was originally for the Black Dragon Knee Gung Fu
yeah.
system that we developed, that that one is done all standing. So like it's not the it's like a beginner level, so to speak, because everyone
Hmm.
can do it standing. You don't have to actually like get down on the floor like our yin yoga,
Yeah,
which is more like intermediate advanced.
right.
Well, you can start from beginner too, but it's just going to be really hard as a beginner. While the other one is perfect for a beginner to get to intermediate advanced quickly, and then be able to do more traditional stretches of all sorts and types, all the way down to the deep floor work.
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's
yeah,
true.
that was good. Thanks for sharing all that, Reza.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up, because a lot of people don't know that it's right there. School.com slash energy cultivation. And we just brought the price down too, so it's affordable, I think, for everybody. $15 a month. It's the same thing as Amazon. But you're gonna have a whole classroom right there for you, that's designed to develop this mind body spirit connection, internal work. And we love talking about external stuff too, so that's why you come to the Q&As that we set up. So if you have
Yeah,
questions about
we have
things,
a good
we'll
family.
direct you.
Yeah, our community is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time, so a lot of people who are probably even watching this or have been following us for 15 plus years.
Yeah. And we got
It'd be nice
a
to
lot
have
of
you
good
guys jump
people.
on if you haven't already.
That's right. All right. Well, I don't want to go too deep into it. I'll save some of the things I have for next podcast. But you know, before we close it out, we can do a little recap maybe, and I'll give you a preview of what we can talk about next time. Scott, is there anything you wanted to share or kind of recap?
Buddy, I'm gonna let you do the recap this.
All right. Sounds good, buddy. Um, so what we went through today, I think it is should be very helpful for all of our viewers. And basically, in terms of heart, mind, nature, what are we looking at? It's what is this heart mind? How does the Western viewpoint look at it? How does Eastern look at it? And we discussed that. I think Sifu gave great examples. Scott did too, and we were able to touch on both sides and come to I think an agreement that neglecting either is not going to be helpful in this day and age, but to see that how both actually create one whole perspective and can intertwine and combine into helping us to actually cultivate something that we've been always looking for. And it's not necessarily an ego that we're looking to pursue, but more of our true original self. And where do we find that? It may be hard to find if we can't look back and realize who we once were before this ego started to grow. And for most people, it's, right around adolescence. But, they say Eastern perspective is right around 7 is when the ego starts to grow. So you can see, parts of your true self start to fade away little by little until, adolescence, it's gone. And then now you're just this new thing. And it's important to look back and to ask the people who know who you were, and see them or talk to them, and they can help you to remember. Sifu luckily could see that I need to spend more time with my mom, my dad, talk to them more. That of course did help me a lot, but it wasn't the ultimate fix. And for you out there that's watching, you got to look into yourself, and you can't just look into videos and say, oh, that's who I was. No, 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 no. You got to really really search. And you know I think going into to exercise that's specifically going to help you to develop the mind body connection, you'll start to be able to recognize this kind of stuff. So meditation, tai chi, qigong, breath work, um, posture development, yin yoga, yoga itself, all these kind of things can help you to become more in tune with that original self. But in the end, it's something that you got to keep looking for yourself. And it comes down to that heart mind, where if you're not checking yourself, you're going to wreck yourself. How's your emotion, within this very moment? How is my thinking? Like, what am I thinking, and how is that affecting my emotions? Is it necessary? Is it, helping me? Is it helping that person I'm talking to? Okay, let me stop. Drop those tools. You got to learn what these tools are that we hold on to. And, instead of holding them to do everything, realize that each tool that we have been given has a purpose and a place. So learn to drop and let things go, and, let the ship keep sailing without putting anchors down everywhere. Um, and the more that we're able to become aware, and again, it's constantly checking ourselves, and then this awareness will develop to where you don't have to check so much. You don't have to, just like the exercise, you don't have to do the exercises as often. If you do it every day for 90 days, or you give yourself a certain window of, I'm going to do this every day, and no matter what, that's the most important thing, I'm going to do that. Then you're going to see that you don't have to do it as much anymore. And then you're going to be catching yourself before it even happens. So before wrecking yourself, you will catch yourself. So you don't have to do as much checking. So yeah, basically put in that effort, you guys, to improvement, and you'll see the results. And that goes physical, mental, and emotional.
Too true and well said, my guy. Good job.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you both for listening all this time we took. Hopefully you guys, watching all got something out of this. And thank you, Sifu. Thank you, Scott, for everything you guys
Likewise, thank
share
you, gentlemen.
and the awesome questions. Man, keep them coming.
It's always a pleasure doing this with you guys.
Likewise, Scott. It's a pleasure, honor to work with both you guys. And for all you watching, I think next time we're gonna talk more about the mind in terms of awareness and mind space. So, what are we doing with this mind space constantly? Um, there's a term for it, which we're going to talk more about. It's called the monkey mind. And, Sifu's taught me so much about it that I want to share this with you guys and pick his brain apart so that, it becomes something that you don't have to be bound by. Because a lot of people, they don't tame the monkey mind. They're constantly, feeding it and being victims of it. So we'll get into that next time. All
Oh
right.
man, I could
Thank you
just say
guys.
one sentence about that, but I'm not. All right, you can cut it off here. Just cut this
You
part out.
want to you want to drop a gem real quick before?
No, 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 just for us three. You can cut this part out for next week.
All right. Well,
I
we'll
realized a
end it
long time
there.
ago. I realized, guys, this is us talking here. I realized, guys, a long time ago, um, when I was like taught what the monkey mind was at a young age, and I tried to solve the problem of solving how to solve the monkey mind. My solution that I came up with that worked for me and made the monkey mind stop was realize I'm a monkey.
Mm.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, I mean, if your avatar in life is a hominid, you know.
Right. But I realized if I didn't realize I was a monkey, I was like a monkey mind, not even knowing I was a monkey, thinking I'm a man or a human or something.
That's funny. That's really good.
So like to stop that, if we have a monkey mind, then that means like we have like an animal part of us. So I was like, that's just the animal part. Like kind of like there's like the reptile part too. And there's
Hmm.
like the animal part, and then there's like the human part of the brains, you know. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's something else.
Yeah,
Plants.
if these
Plants are
bodies
psychic.
are amalgamations, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that.
Right. I like
Mm.
that perspective though. That's good.
If you don't know you're a monkey, you'll be a monkey mind.
Yeah. And then you got to take a step back so you can see that.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but that's just real simple. Just where is the
That
mind
works.
coming from? It's labeled as monkey, so I must be a monkey before there's a mind. It's obviously the mind is inside this body of a monkey.
Well, the
Yep.
mind or the brain that the mind operates in, you know, are from
Yeah.
But like,
is a monkey
what's like the
brain.
brain? Once the mind got the connection to solve that riddle, it solved it. It was like, hey,
Wow.
it was
That's
like
crazy.
the only way to not be a monkey mind is to be a monkey. Know that you're a monkey.
To know that you're a monkey,
Yeah,
then
that way
you'll
you can be one.
Yeah,
physically it's okay maybe to be a monkey, but our mind, we don't want that monkey running loose.
yeah, because we are
Metaphorically. Yeah.
humans. We are humans.
Yeah.
And you know what's really funny
We got
for our
to eat,
human mind?
sleep.
The
Hmm.
way our human mind is different. It operates different. It likes to actually have very, very good concentration and very, very good projection of stillness.
Mm, that's
We are
interesting.
like a lot more like a plant going towards the sun than an animal running around.
Mm.
Even though we look like an animal.
Yeah, it's like our mind is plant. I was saying that's where like this whole psychic idea comes from.
I've
Huh.
always thought of these filaments that are in each one of us as roots
Nice.
for some reason, and they lead back to a trunk we call God. So like that whole like you know connectedness makes me think that there is a lot like the spiritual side of life, the energetic side of life is more like plants,
Hmm.
and the incarnate side of life, the physical side, is more like animal. Like if that makes
Yeah.
any
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Steve, Sifu told me that we are half animal, half plant.
It from the spiritual perspective, that makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah, I see that now.
Yeah.
Like biologically, okay, yeah, that's why when I used to say that, people thought I was crazy. But spiritually, 100%.
Yeah,
These
yeah, it's true. Biologically, it's not true. But like spiritually, it's definitely like, I mean, we see it. We're in reflection, you know. We're all
Mhm.
the same. Like even earlier in the talks, it's like everything that we have that we've made, it's still made out of nature. All we're doing is playing with the mud, you know, just rearranging it. It's not like we actually created the computer out of nothingness. It's like we use the materials, the tools that we created, and the material that we have on this earth to create that. It's still nature, technically. You know, I know I forgot to mention the monkey mind thing, that philosophy when I was trying to do it to make sure I could solve it. You know what I was doing? I was in Kung Fu still. Um,
Mm.
so I learned monkey form. I thought I could put my mind in the monkey form and see if it would help me understand the philosophy of the monkey mind, like by doing the Kung Fu form and putting myself like an actor who
Hold
would
up.
act and play a role. Then
That makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense. Because look, if if the mind, okay, so let's say you need to realize that you're a monkey, right? If you don't realize that, then mentally you'll still be monkey. What do monkeys do? They react to everything. Ooh, 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 right? They get angry, they get emotional, like they judge things. They're curious, but not just curious, but they can be deceitful, destructive, vengeful. They got all these things going on, and you think about that. That's what our minds like to do too. So this monkey, if we realize that we are monkeys, then again we can physically allow ourselves to eat and drink and sleep and exercise. That's good, but our mind is plant, not monkey. Then if we realize this, oh my God, that's going to make huge changes,
It's really
because
the root of
then
the spirit.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it is.
then the
Right.
spirit can
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah. So the root of the spirit comes in through the crown and is what embodies you and gives you that connection to God or whatever.
Right.
And, and then like this body is like the flower kind of, but the flower is the animal.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
we embody that. And this earth is like one big plant head that has a bunch of little flowers on it. You know what I'm saying? Like we're those little flowers kind of a thing. It's really
Hmm.
interesting to think about, but um yeah.
Well,
So
that's good.
spirit is like the plant aspect, and then the physical aspect is like the fruit of the the animalistic side of things. And I totally see that how those things coincide and come together. Kind
You
of
know,
interesting.
that's like some like real old school, like occultic beliefs going back to even the all that. What are those guys? All the way back to the Christian
The
things. They're going
pagans and the Gnostics and all that.
all the way going back to the guys, their foundation of their like golden magic to their crusaders to the what you want to call it, the Masons to this day. They believe in this kind of stuff hardcore.
Hmm.
Yeah.
As
Well, Da
Probably
like
from
Vinci.
old writings and old things that
yeah,
they
like
hoarded.
they believe that is like our original like history, that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. It's like how we evolved, not like coming out the ocean.
Mm.
I think we were plants first before we became humans.
Ooh, that's pretty deep. We go into creation too, but that's a whole series of podcasts. But yeah, we'll pick at your brain too about that, Sifu. I think that'd be a great one.
We're just gonna have fun with this stuff.
Yep.
We're just gonna have mad fun. I don't care what it is. Keep me surprised.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on, Scott or Sifu?
No, I think we can call it a night.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna end it here. The recording's gonna cut off, and
We can
then,
cut this whole last part off,
Yeah. I mean, I figured we were just shooting the shit here at the
yeah.
end.
Yeah.
But let me close it out then, so that I can just add this at the end. All
All
right.
right, buddy.
Cool. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Don't forget to check out school.com/energy cultivation, and don't forget to sign up, practice, check out the school classroom, and come see us on Q&A day. All right. We'll see you guys then. Scott, thank you for being here, and appreciate everything. Sifu as well. Thank you so much, and
Yeah.
namaste.
Namaste.
Have a good night, guys.
Peace.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You bet. Thank you.